A man's beloved hangs from the branch of a red maple tree, breaking his life forever. The opening image of Blue Ridge will haunt you for the rest of the book. Today we chat with author Peter Elliott about his debut novel. Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. I'm Sharon Lynn, and welcome to you, Peter.
Thank you, Sharon, so much for having me. And I want to take you with me wherever I go to do that intro. That was so cool. I don't need to say anything else about the book. That's it.
Okay, I can do that. I'm gonna just go ahead and make a quick confession right here. I'm usually the cozy mystery girl.
Okay.
That's my genre.
So
That's what
this
I
was a little
write.
bit of a
That's what I
departure.
read. Yeah, a little bit of a departure here for me. Um, yeah, and I'll have to say that opening image, I was just like, and
Yeah.
and I stayed like that for the rest of the book. It is just a brilliantly spun tale. So,
Thank you.
congratulations on that. And
Thank you.
one of the interesting things about it is that it is told from the perspective of twin brothers.
Yeah.
And why did you choose that?
Yeah, so I always, and I should show the book. This is the book. So if want to have a very pretty Blue Ridge book cover in your library, go get it. Yeah, so identical twins. So I should start off by saying I do not have a brother and I didn't murder him. So I promise that wasn't a thing that I did. But I feel like I always
Good.
have to qualify.
Good.
I'm not a murderer, I promise. The thing that always fascinates me about identical twin brothers and siblings for that matter is just the duality that's always present because they're always at odds with one another, and people always think that they're similar and yet they're not. But if they're identical, right, they present themselves to the world in the same way, and how they make themselves unique, and the relationship that they have with that sibling in trying to differentiate themselves from their sibling is just a really fascinating concept to me. And I always kind of going back to the classic mythological tropes. Going back to Cain and Abel, that's always been kind of a dynamic that's really interested me. So, I wrote this book. This is how long book publishing takes. I started writing this book in 2021. I finished it in 2022. So at that point, it was kind of like the vaccine hadn't quite come out yet. So I was still living at home like most of us were. And I'm from Virginia. I'm from that area. So I was taking these long walks in Sky Meadows Park, which is featured in the book. And there was something about the idea of Cain and Abel and these mountains and murderous twins that kind of coalesced into this perfect brain baby that I worked on during the height of the pandemic. That's kind of how it came to be.
Well, it needed to do something. Uh,
Yeah,
um, and I didn't even make that Cain and Abel connection, and that's fabulous.
thank you.
That's great because it's great with it. It was also great with me not making the connection at all.
Right.
So, um,
It's not a cross. Yeah.
absolutely works. So, yeah, one of my follow-up questions was, do you have a brother? Do you have a sister? Any siblings?
I
Close
do. I have an older sister, yeah, and she is alive and well, and
enough?
she's theater in Maryland, and she's fabulous, and I love her a lot.
Okay, good. Yeah, because and the reason that I asked the question and I find it really interesting is because their dynamic is so sibling-like. When they were younger and they were friends, and then the things that break them, and all of those different dynamics are just so true.
Thanks.
I
Appreciate it.
have two older brothers, an older sister, and two older
Okay.
stepbrothers. So I have a
Okay.
lot, and
Yeah.
and being
Yeah.
the baby, just some of them were like wanted to take care of me, and others wanted, just to make sure I didn't embarrass them, and
Sure.
shuffled off to the
Sure.
side, and so yeah, these two brothers and the way they think about each other, that just is, it comes across as very true. It's
Thank you. Thank you. And
nice done.
familial trauma is such an interesting thing, because it shapes the way that you shape your personality, especially when you're growing up. And it's a familial strife and trauma is kind of a recurring theme in all of the stuff that I do. And I don't think it ever won't be. I don't know what that says about me, but
Well, hopefully that, you recognize it and you deal with it and you're
Sure,
happy.
sure, yeah.
That's my hope for you.
That sounds good. Let's go with that. Yeah.
Okay. So there is a lot of dysfunction in all of these characters. And with that, that just incredible pain that comes from being broken and not knowing how to fix it.
Yep.
Uh, so was that exhausting to write like that? Like I write in the brain of a 19-year-old college student. That's just fun. Um,
Sure, sure. The short answer is no, but I'll give you a longer answer. Originally I was a screenwriter, right? So I'm coming from the film and TV world. You don't really get to delve into a character's head like you can in a book, right? There are little tricks you can do, but it's really writing a script. It's a blueprint to go shoot something and make something that's for the director, right? So no, I had a ball really getting into just the meat and nitty-gritty of what made these guys tick and their history and why they felt the way they did about each other. And that was part of the reason why I chose to do the dueling first-person POVs, right? So I could really just go full throttle all in, which, for my first book, probably I could have done something a little bit easier, probably, because it definitely did take a little bit of recalibration, switching from chapter to chapter. It's like, okay, so I'm in Killian's head now. Okay, Killian is a lot harder for me for whatever reason, but Christopher is really easy for me. Why is that? And kind of just the toggle back and forth between those was a really great challenge, and I enjoyed it a lot. But I wouldn't suggest doing that for your first book. It's not easy.
no, and that is what I teach script writing. So
Yeah,
um, and that's one of the things that you just have to keep saying to the students. You can't see them think that. You have to
yeah.
leave
If
it
you,
out.
if you can't see it on the screen, it doesn't
It,
belong.
it doesn't belong. We can't see them smell that.
Yep. Yeah, all those really wonderful
You're gonna
sensory
have,
details that you love putting in prose. Nope, doesn't matter.
yep,
Audience
yep.
gets it.
So you're gonna find a different way
Yeah,
for all of that inner angst, which is why actually I prefer the novels as well.
yeah.
I really like being inside their heads.
Yeah, yeah. It is a really fun. This probably isn't a question that you wanted to ask me, but I'm just going to kind of lean into it. That's the fun thing about coming from film and TV background is that it really is so valuable for authors, especially those who write, thrillers or kind of more plot-driven stuff, just because it forces you to think economically and think, okay, what is the character's driving motivation? What is their want? How does this scene directly move the story forward? Does
Right,
if it doesn't do those things, then it doesn't belong, right? So it has to be really streamlined, which was is really helpful for me. And so I'm glad I had that background going into novel writing. I don't think I have a lot of appreciation for people that write very interior literary novels that aren't very plot driven. It's such a hard thing to do well. I don't think I'm ever going to do that.
I'm just going to put out there that I think you could probably do it well.
Well,
Um,
I think.
and one of those things that we teach in script writing is that you never have a flashback until you
Right,
care about the characters.
right, exactly.
And you do this in such a brilliant and profound way
Thank you.
because I was not expecting it. And then all of a sudden we're back, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And it's just, yeah, we have 100% buy-in, and then it's like, okay, we're going to go back in time
Yeah,
and look at their
yeah.
dynamic a little bit more. And
Thank you. Thank you. That's really
yeah,
kind of you to
yeah,
say. Yeah, the jumping around in time was something that I also knew going into starting the book that I wanted to do because that's also, you can do it in a script, but it's tricky and it's not easy. So that was something that I was kind of baked into the cake from the beginning. So I'm glad that it resonated with you. That's good.
yeah, no, really, really beautifully done. So there is a song by Civil War that one of the characters, he hears it and it just takes him back in time as music can do. It's called Poison and Wine. And did the song spur the characters, or did you have the characters and you just needed to find the perfect song to describe their relationship?
Sure. So there's two parts to that answer.
Yeah.
So, first of all, the Civil Wars is an amazing folk duo. They're no longer together, unfortunately, but really, really incredible. Please go look up their music. They're wonderful. So their music, I knew about this. I listened to the Civil Wars before. I had known about them before I started writing Blue Ridge. And a lot of their music is very melancholy and stirring about personal relationships going awry and the trials and tribulations of lost love and that sort of thing. So when I knew that there was going to be the triangle between Killian and Christopher and Audrey, that was kind of a really wonderful score in my head to run as I was writing, and that's something I do when I'm writing something. I pick a handful of artists that match the tone and kind of just listen to that on loop while I'm writing, just to inform what I'm doing. And funnily enough, the the reason why the Civil Wars broke up is that there was a love triangle with their manager. So it's kind of like it's fiction bleeding into reality and vice versa. So to answer your question, a little bit of both, a little bit of both. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I had to stop reading and look it up on YouTube and
yeah,
actually listen to it.
yeah.
And yeah, really hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah, haunting's the right word, and it's a shame because they both do solo stuff now, and they're both great, but like together, there was just this kind of just magic special secret sauce that you can't really replicate ever. It was kind of lightning in a bottle. It's such a shame, but anyway, alas.
Alas, as we know, love triangles, rip a
Do
whole lot
not
of
end
stuff
well usually.
apart. Um, all right, so you mentioned you're from Virginia. This is set in rural Virginia. Tell me about Virginia.
Yeah, so I mean, the Virginia, obviously I'm biased. It's a wonderful state. But the thing that's really interesting about where I set it, Middleburg and Fauquier County and out there, I grew up about 30 to 40 minutes away from there. It's a really interesting hodgepodge of a place because you have the horse country people, you have the kind of the more rural working class, but then also it's less than an hour from Washington, D.C. So you have a lot of people that work on the Hill, people that work in government, politicians, et cetera, kind of just all together in this one area, right? I mean, it's a spread out area, but still. And it's this really fascinating melting pot of cultures and ways of thinking and ideologies that isn't ever really replicated well, I think, in film and TV and books. Unfortunately, the South is kind of treated, I'm speaking generalities here, but like the South can be kind of treated as a monolith, and it's not, obviously. So I really kind of wanted to, in a weird way, this was a love letter to where I grew up and the mountains that I grew up hiking and the people that I knew and surrounded myself with, even though it's a very dark story. It's a love letter in a sense. So yeah,
Well, what you achieved was that the painting of the setting. I mean,
thank you.
so you see those trees
Yeah,
and the cabins and the roughness of the terrain
yeah,
and
yeah,
the small town. I was just picturing like a couple broken down cars
yeah.
along, and yeah,
Right.
so it came out really nicely.
Thank you. Thank you.
So you mentioned kind of nice segue into my next
Yeah,
question. So we have politics and we have horse country.
yeah,
So our twin brothers are these dichotomies. We have Christopher, who's a politician, and there are actually quite a few scenes with him being political and on the campaign road and
sure.
and just all the everything that goes into that makes me never want to be close to politics.
Yeah, no, I know.
So, did you do a lot of research, or are you familiar at all with the
Yeah, so I
process?
mean, I've never worked on a campaign myself, but I have a lot of friends and family that growing up in this area that work in politics, so I did kind of grow up with it kind of steeped into me. Also, my mother she's a novelist, but before that she was a journalist, so I kind of grew up with this sense of, okay, if you're gonna paint a world, you need to do your research and get it right, right? So in addition to all the kind of life experience and friends and family know-how that I inherited by osmosis. I did do a kind of a deep dive into what would make an aspiring politician, someone who's had, who's had some success and is kind of trying to get to the next step, but is hampered by something, which I won't spoil, what that would look like and why he would act a certain way. And it was a really fun rabbit hole to get down, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, like I said, polar opposite to that, we have Killian, who
Yep.
is a horseman
Yeah.
and competition rider.
Mhm.
So, did you ever ride?
So I didn't ride, but my sister is a national champion horseback rider, and my mom
Awesome.
also rides. And so like the family owned horses, and I spent a lot of time in barns. I've mucked stalls, brushed horses, I did all that fun stuff. So even though I personally never did it, I was around it a lot and spent a lot of time in that world. And horse people, the trainers and farriers and people that ride, and they're such wonderful people. They're so down the earth yet driven because it's a sport that takes such intensity and such dedication and focus and drive. And it's also the people, a lot of the times that people that work in that world are in direct juxtaposition with the people that can afford to do it, right? So that's an interesting dichotomy there. So it's a world that I know very well by osmosis, and I really wanted to, if I was going to have the politician brother character, I did want to kind of have the mirror image of the opposite of that, and that's kind of what it ended up being. Yeah.
Um, One of the things you said there was a farrier.
Farrier, yeah, sorry. A person that puts shoes on the hooves and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Arizona, so I've
Yeah,
always been
yeah.
around
Well,
horses, but
you've
not
got some
everybody
horses
knows
out
those
there, right?
terms.
I mean, it's a little hot, but you can get the horses out in the desert.
Actually, they're wild horses. We have Mustangs.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool.
We also have wild burros, donkeys, just out in the desert. There are signs as you drive into Phoenix, like
Sure. Just
burro,
watch for
next
crossing
20
Mustangs.
miles. Don't hit them.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Um, Yeehaw. Wild West. Um, so, going back to this whole you came from a screenwriting world, do you feel like this book would make a good film?
Yeah, I do. It would, I kind of said this already, but like I'm always gonna think of things cinematically and in the three act structure. So like that's the way I was trained. So I'm always going to think that way. So I don't think I'm ever going to write something that would be super anti film and TV friendly. That said, Blue Ridge, yes, it could be. It would be a very gritty indie character driven thing that would be done realistically speaking for like not a lot of money. And not to bum people out, but in Hollywood, it's very, very difficult to get those kinds of movies made.
Yeah.
So yes, I would love to make it into a movie one day. So fingers crossed. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just that you're so much in these characters' heads for so much of it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
they're also just like almost constantly on the move. You never see one of them just sitting there. Uh,
There's a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
um, all right, so what is next for you and your writing career?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so I wrote a second book. I'm trying to find a home for it. I'm currently working on the third. I'm getting my master's and I'm teaching undergraduates creative writing right now. So I'm having a lot of fun doing that, which is
yeah,
which is lovely. Um, and I also have an editing business where I work with clients who write genre fiction in terms of, I give them developmental edits, I'll help them write their queries, etc. So I'm going in a lot of different directions, but I enjoy being busy. Yeah. So the project I'm working on right now is also set in Virginia in this similar area. But it's a psychological horror set in the world of a mountaintop winery, which I'm really enjoying. As someone who used to work in a wine bar and knows, I'm not a sommelier or anything, but I worked in wine and I know a little bit. It's been really fun to kind of delve into that very specific world because man, is it people that love it, they love it. It's
me
very
too.
specific. So yeah, sorry. So that's what I'm doing.
Oh, that sounds great. So, if any of our fans out there would like to, contact you about editing, and you edit scripts as well?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I also do screenplay reviews. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at PME writer. I try and post once or twice a week. I'm trying to be better about that. And then my website is pmelliott.com. So it's pretty easy to find. Yeah. If you Google me, I'm there. So
yeah, yes,
yeah.
indeed. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And um, thank you all for watching Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews.
Thank you, Sharon. This was lovely.